My stepdaughter said I was ruining their family, so I stopped fixing it, and she finally saw who broke it first. I met Victoria when she was 14. Her dad and I had been dating for 6 months when he finally introduced us. She barely looked at me during dinner, spent the whole time texting under the table. Her dad didn't correct her. I should have known then, should have seen what was coming. But I was in love, optimistic, naive. I thought I could win her over with time and patience and consistency. I'd read all the books about blended families, about being a step-parent, about dealing with teenagers who'd experienced parental abandonment. I thought I was prepared. We got married when she was 16. The wedding was small, mostly because Victoria refused to participate in any meaningful way. She wore black to the ceremony, sat in the back row with her arms crossed, earbuds in, scrolling through her phone during our vows. When the officiant asked if anyone objected, she didn't say anything, but she did laugh. A short, bitter sound that made several guests turn around. Her dad whispered afterward that she just needed time to adjust, that I needed to be patient, understanding, that her mom had left when she was young and she had abandonment issues, that I couldn't take it personally, so I tried. I really, really tried. I packed her lunches with the specific snacks she liked, the organic granola bars that cost $8 a box, the fancy string cheese from the specialty market 20 minutes away, the apple slices with lemon juice so they wouldn't brown, the exact brand of trail mix she'd mentioned once 3 months earlier. She threw them away in front of me, every single one, right in the cafeteria trash while maintaining eye contact with me through the car window when I dropped her off. Then she'd turn and laugh with her friends, pointing at me, making it clear I was the joke. Then she'd come home and complain to her dad that I never made her anything good, that I didn't care enough to learn what she liked. I offered to help with her homework. She told me I wasn't smart enough, that I wouldn't understand her advanced classes, even though I had a master's degree in education and had taught high school English for 8 years before moving to be with her dad. I bought her the expensive jeans she wanted, the ones she'd been showing me on her phone for weeks, circling them in screenshots, leaving her phone open to the page, dropping hints. She said they were ugly and asked for the receipt so she could return them and keep the cash. Then she used that cash to buy the exact same jeans, telling her friends she'd bought them herself because her stepmom had terrible taste. Her dad always had the same response. She's just going through something. Give her space. Be the bigger person. You're the adult here. She's still a child. Her brain isn't fully developed. You have to understand where she's coming from. I understood where she was coming from. I understood she was hurt. I understood she was scared of being abandoned again. I understood all of it intellectually. But understanding didn't make the daily cruelty hurt any less. When she failed 3 classes junior year, I spent 2 months tutoring her every night from 7 to 10 p.m., researching topics I barely remembered from my own high school years, watching YouTube videos to understand concepts so I could explain them to her, creating study guides, making flashcards, quizzing her repeatedly. She passed barely with a D- average. She told her friends I'd done nothing, that she'd pulled herself up by her own effort, that I'd actually made things harder by hovering. When she wrecked her dad's car at 17, wrapping it around a telephone pole at 1:30 a.m. When she was supposed to be sleeping at a friend's house, I was the one who picked her up from the police station at 2 a.m. Her dad was on a business trip in Denver, wouldn't be back until the next afternoon. She didn't say thank you, just complained that I'd taken too long, that I was an embarrassment showing up in my pajamas and old jacket, that everyone at the station was staring at her because of me. I kept a list in my phone of every small cruelty, every dismissal, every time her dad chose her tears over my exhaustion. The list hit 847 entries before I stopped counting. Before I realized that counting them was making me bitter, was turning me into someone I didn't recognize. There were bigger incidents too. The time she told her guidance counselor I'd hit her, which led to a 2-week investigation that nearly cost me my job at the elementary school where I worked. Child services came to our house. Interviewed Victoria, her dad, me, separately and together. Looked through our house for signs of abuse. The charges were dropped when they couldn't find any evidence, when Victoria's story kept changing, when the school nurse confirmed there were no marks on her. But the other teachers looked at me differently after that. Whispered when I walked into the break room. The principal called me in and suggested maybe I needed some time off, some space to deal with my home situation. The time she threw a glass at my head during an argument about her curfew, and when her dad came home from his late meeting, she had tears streaming down her face saying I'd thrown it at her first, that she was just defending herself, that I'd been drinking and gotten violent. I don't drink. I've never been violent in my life. But he believed her. He always believed her. He sat me down later and asked me if I was under a lot of stress, if maybe I needed to talk to someone, if perhaps I should consider anger management classes. The glass had shattered against the wall 2 inches from my head. I'd found shards in my hair for days. The time she photoshopped text messages to make it look like I'd been saying horrible things about her to my friends, then showed them to her dad as proof that I hated her, that I was the problem in the family. The messages said things I would never say, called her names I would never use, but the screenshots looked real enough that her dad questioned me for an hour, asking why I would say those things, why I couldn't just be kind to his daughter. The breaking point came on my birthday. I'd planned a quiet dinner, nothing fancy, just the 3 of us at the Italian place downtown, the one with the outdoor patio and the string lights. I'd asked Victoria a week in advance if she had any conflicts. She looked me in the eye and said no, she was free. That sounded nice. I'd made reservations for 6:30 p.m. I'd bought a new blue dress. I'd been looking forward to it for weeks, to one evening where maybe we could all just be okay together. That afternoon, Victoria came home with 6 friends, unannounced. They took over the kitchen, ordered 4 large pizzas, left boxes and grease-stained paper plates everywhere, blasted music until midnight, used up all the clean glasses, spilled soda on the couch. When I asked them to keep it down at 6:15 p.m., explaining that we had dinner reservations in 15 minutes, Victoria looked me dead in the eye and said, "You're ruining everything. You're ruining this family. Why can't you just leave us alone? We were here first. You're the one who doesn't belong. This was our house before you. This was our family. And you come in here and try to control everything and make it about you. It's always about you. God, I can't wait until you finally leave like everyone knows you will." Her dad was right there, standing in the doorway with his car keys in his hand, dressed for dinner in the nice shirt I'd bought him for Christmas. He opened his mouth, then closed it. He looked at Victoria, then at me, then at the floor. He said nothing. Her friends went silent, watching. One of them whispered something that sounded like, harsh. They were all staring at me, waiting to see what I'd do, if I'd yell or cry or fight back, waiting for the show. Something inside me went quiet. Not angry, not sad, just quiet, like a switch flipping off, like a door closing that had been open for 2 years straight. I went upstairs. I took off my nice blue dress, the one I'd spent too much money on, the one I'd been excited to wear. I put on sweatpants and an old t-shirt. I didn't go to the restaurant. Her dad went alone, came back an hour later with takeout containers he left on the counter. We didn't speak about it. He didn't ask if I was okay. He didn't apologize for not defending me. He just ate his pasta in front of the TV and went to bed early. The next morning I stopped. Just stopped everything. No more packed lunches. No more rides to her friends' houses or to soccer practice or to the mall. No more staying up to help with essays or math problems or science projects. No more covering for her when she missed curfew. No more mediating between her and her dad. No more pretending her cruelty didn't destroy me every single day. No more being the bigger person, the adult, the understanding stepmother who just needed to try harder, who just needed to be more patient. Her dad noticed first. "Where's Victoria's lunch?" "I don't pack her lunch anymore," I said simply, not looking up from my coffee. "She's 17, she can handle it. But you always..." "Not anymore." He stared at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. "But she needs..." "She said I was ruining the family," I interrupted quietly. "So I'm removing myself from family matters. She's your daughter. You handle it. That's not... We can't just... I'm not asking for permission," I said. "I'm telling you what I'm doing. Or rather, what I'm not doing anymore." The first week was absolute chaos. Victoria missed her dentist appointment because I didn't remind her. Missed her follow-up too. She failed a quiz because I didn't help her study the night before. She got detention for being late to first period 3 times because I wasn't waking her up anymore. Wasn't driving her when she slept through her alarm. Her favorite jeans weren't clean because I'd stopped doing her laundry separately from ours. She came downstairs on Wednesday morning screaming about having nothing to wear, and I just shrugged and said, maybe she should do her own laundry then. She complained to her dad constantly. He'd approach me with this confused, almost betrayed expression. "Can't you just help her with this one thing? Can't you just drive her this one time? It's just one small favor." "No," I'd say. "I'm busy." "But you're not busy. You're just sitting here reading." "Then I'm sitting here reading." "That's what I'm busy with." "But that's not..." "You're being petty. You're being vindictive. This isn't like you." "Maybe you never knew what I was like," I said. "Maybe you only knew the version of me that was exhausted from keeping everything together while getting treated like garbage." He didn't have a response to that. By week 2, her dad was scrambling. He didn't know which forms needed signing for school. Didn't know she had a project due that required poster board and marker. Didn't know she was supposed to bring snacks for her club meeting. Didn't know she needed new soccer cleats because she'd outgrown her old ones. Didn't know her physical was scheduled for Thursday morning, which meant leaving work early to drive her. "How do you keep track of all this?" he asked me one night, genuine confusion and frustration in his voice. "I don't anymore," I said. "You'll have to ask your daughter. But she doesn't tell me things. That's between you and her. That's a relationship you two need to figure out. But you know her schedule. You know what she needs." "I used to know," I corrected, "because I paid attention, because I asked questions and wrote things down and set reminders and checked her backpack and read the school emails. You can do all of that too. You just never did because I was doing it for you." He looked genuinely lost. "She's my daughter. I should know these things." "Yes," I agreed. "You should." Victoria started coming home to an empty house. I'd stopped adjusting my schedule around her needs. If I wanted to go to the gym at 3 p.m., I went. If I wanted to have coffee with my friend across town, I did. If I wanted to browse the bookstore for an hour after work, I did that too. I wasn't there to let her in when she forgot her key. I wasn't there with a snack waiting, asking about her day. I wasn't there at all. She tried texting me. "Need a ride." Then when I didn't respond for 3 hours, "Hello?" Then "Where are you?" Then "This is ridiculous." Then "I'm telling Dad you're ignoring me." I blocked her number during school hours. Unblocked it at 6 p.m. when her dad got home, so she couldn't claim I was completely unavailable. Her dad started taking long lunches to drive her places. Started staying up late, helping with homework he didn't understand, Google searches open on his laptop, YouTube tutorial videos playing. Started doing her laundry at 10 p.m. because she had no clean clothes for school and was crying about it. He looked exhausted. He'd come home from work and immediately get bombarded with Victoria's demands, her needs, her crises. Things that had been handled invisibly for 2 years were now his problem. One night, 3 weeks into my stoppage, he snapped at her. "Can't you handle anything yourself? You're almost 18. You're going to college next year. What are you going to do then?" She burst into tears. "You're supposed to help me. That's what parents do. That's your job. Where was this energy when you told my wife she was ruining the family?" he said, his voice sharp in a way I'd never heard before. I looked up from my book. It was the first time he'd ever defended me to her face. The first time in 2 years. Victoria's face went red, then white. "That's different. She's not my parent. She's just someone who married you. She's not family. She doesn't count." The words hung there in the living room air. Her dad looked at me, then back at her. "She's someone who has done everything for you for 2 years. Someone who packed your lunches every single day and helped you pass your classes and picked you up when you were in trouble. Someone who rearranged her entire life around your schedule. What have you done for her? What have you given her except cruelty?" Victoria's mouth opened and closed. I didn't ask her to do any of that. I never wanted her to." "No, you just took it all for granted," he said quietly, "and now you're seeing what life looks like without it." She ran to her room, slammed the door hard enough that a picture fell off the hallway wall. Her dad sank onto the couch next to me, put his head in his hands. "I didn't realize how much you were doing. I didn't see it. I thought it just happened, like magic." "It wasn't magic," I said. "It was me. Getting up early to pack lunches, staying up late to help with homework, rearranging my work schedule, keeping track of everything in my head because no one else was. And she hated me for it anyway. Every single day she hated me for it." He didn't have an argument for that. He just sat there, finally seeing what had been invisible to him. Week 4 was when things truly unraveled. Victoria's grades started slipping again. Not because she was stupid, but because she'd relied on me to keep her organized, to remind her about assignments, to proofread her essays, to quiz her before tests. Without that safety net, she was drowning. Her English teacher emailed her dad about 3 missing assignments. Her math teacher called about her failing quiz average. Her history teacher requested a parent conference. Her soccer coach called the house. Victoria hadn't shown up to practice in 2 weeks, and they had a tournament coming up. Her dad didn't even know she'd quit the team. Turns out she'd quit because I'd stopped driving her, and her dad couldn't leave work early enough to get her there by 3:30 p.m., and she was too proud to ask her friends for rides. She missed her SAT test because no one reminded her to set an alarm the night before. Cost us $90 to reschedule, plus the registration fee for the next available date 3 months later. Her dad had to take off work to go to the testing center and handle the paperwork. She got caught cheating on a test because she didn't know the material and panicked, took a photo of her notes on her phone, got caught with her phone out during the exam. Her dad had to meet with the principal, the teacher, and the school counselor. They asked where I was. He said I was working, which was technically true, but really I just refused to come, had told him this was his daughter and his problem. That night, Victoria screamed at him. This is all her fault. Everything was fine before she stopped helping. She ruined everything. Everything was not fine, he said, his voice colder than I'd ever heard it. Everything was held together by someone you treated like garbage. Someone who was working herself into exhaustion for you. And now you're seeing what life looks like without her. This is what you wanted, isn't it? You wanted her gone. Well, she's gone. She's still living here, but she's gone from your life. Congratulations. But I need her, Victoria wailed. I need help. I can't do all of this alone. You're not alone, he said. I'm here. I'm helping you. But I have a job, Victoria. I have responsibilities. I can't drop everything every time you need something. That's why it was so important to have someone else helping. That's why it mattered that she was here, doing all these things you didn't even notice. She tried a different tactic after that. Started leaving me little notes. Sorry for the mess in the kitchen. I'll clean it tomorrow. Thanks for letting me live here. Hope you had a good day. Small, performative gestures that cost her nothing, that required no real change in behavior. I threw them away. She tried talking to me directly one morning while I was making coffee. Hey, so, I have this thing at school next week, and I was wondering, talk to your dad, I said, not looking up from pouring cream. But you're better at this stuff. You know how to— I'm not doing this anymore, I interrupted. Her face crumpled. You really hate me, don't you? I don't hate you, I said honestly, finally looking at her. I just don't care anymore. There's a difference. Hate would mean I still have feelings invested. I don't. I'm empty when it comes to you. She recoiled like I'd slapped her. My dad was right about you. You're heartless. Your dad also told you that you needed to learn accountability, I replied calmly. Looks like he was finally right about something. At week 6, her best friend's mother called me. She'd gotten my number from the school directory. I heard what happened between you and Victoria. I just wanted to say I understand what you did. My daughter told me some things about how Victoria talks about you, how she treats you. It's not okay. It's never been okay. Thank you, I said quietly, surprised by the validation from someone I barely knew. For what it's worth, she continued, my daughter said Victoria's been really struggling, not just with school stuff, emotionally. She apparently broke down crying at lunch yesterday, saying she ruined everything and doesn't know how to fix it. I felt something twist in my chest. Not quite sympathy, not quite satisfaction, something complicated and uncomfortable in between. She made her choices, I said. She's still a kid, the woman said gently. A hurt kid who's hurting other people. I'm not saying you should go back to what you were doing. God, no. Boundaries are healthy. I just thought you should know she's starting to see what she lost. Thank you for telling me, I said. After I hung up, I sat in the quiet house for a long time. I thought about Victoria at 14, barely speaking at that first dinner. I thought about all the times I'd tried to reach her, to build a bridge, to be someone she could trust. I thought about every cruel word, every eye roll, every deliberate act of sabotage. I also thought about the photo I'd seen on her desk once, before she'd noticed me in her doorway, and quickly turned it face down. A picture of her as a little girl, maybe 6 or 7, sitting on a woman's lap. Her mom. The woman who'd left without explanation when Victoria was 9. Just left one day while Victoria was at school. No note, no goodbye, no forwarding address. I'd married a man with a daughter shaped by abandonment, and I'd walked right into the role of the next woman who would eventually leave. In her mind, I was always going to disappear. So she decided to make me leave on her terms, through cruelty, instead of waiting for the inevitable betrayal. I'd understood that from the beginning. I'd thought I could prove her wrong. I'd thought love and consistency could reshape her expectations. I'd been naive. That night, week 7 of my stoppage, her dad sat me down after Victoria went to bed. We need to talk about Victoria. Okay, I said. She's failing 3 classes again. She's depressed. She barely eats. The school counselor called me today. They're worried about her. They asked if there's been a major change at home. I didn't know what to tell them. Tell them the truth, I said. Tell them I stopped enabling her. Tell them she's experiencing natural consequences. This is more than consequences, he said, frustration bleeding into his voice. She's falling apart. She was falling apart anyway, I replied. She's been falling apart since her mom left. I was just holding her together with tape and prayers and my own exhaustion. Now you're seeing what was always underneath. So you're just giving up on her? I'm giving up on being her emotional punching bag, I corrected. There's a difference. I'll be civil. I'll be respectful. But I won't go back to sacrificing myself for someone who sees my sacrifice as weakness. What if this damages her permanently? What about what she damaged in me? I asked softly. Do I not matter? He didn't have an answer. He sat there for a long time, then went to bed without saying goodnight. Week 8, Victoria missed an important college application deadline. Her dad had been trying to help her, but he didn't understand the common app system, didn't know which essays needed to be submitted where, didn't realize that different schools had different supplemental questions. She had a complete breakdown, throwing things in her room, screaming that her life was ruined, that she'd never get into college now, that everything was destroyed. I was home. I heard everything through the walls. I stayed in my room reading my book, noise-canceling headphones playing soft music. Her dad knocked on my door an hour later. She needs you. She said she didn't, I replied without looking up. She's scared. She's 17 and scared. And she needs to learn that fear is a consequence of her own inaction, I finished. I'm not her mother. I'm not her savior. I'm the woman she spent 2 years trying to drive away. She succeeded. This is what success looks like. You've made your point, he said, frustration hardening into anger. Can you please just— No, I said firmly, finally looking at him. I won't just. She doesn't get to treat me like I'm disposable and then expect me to show up whenever it's convenient for her. That's not how relationships work. That's not how respect works. He left without another word. I heard him and Victoria up until 2 a.m., trying to salvage the application, arguing about essay topics, her crying, him sounding exhausted and lost. The next morning, I found Victoria sitting at the kitchen table when I came down for coffee. It was 6 a.m. She was never up this early. Never. She looked terrible. Dark circles under red-rimmed eyes, hair unwashed and pulled into a messy ponytail, wearing the same clothes from the day before. Can we talk? She asked quietly, her voice hoarse. I poured my coffee slowly, deliberately. About what? About everything. She picked at her fingernails, a nervous habit she'd had since childhood according to her dad. I know you're mad at me. I'm not mad, I said honestly, leaning against the counter. Mad would require me to care more than I do right now. Her face flushed. That's mean. That's a mean thing to say. Is it? I asked calmly. You told me I was ruining your family. You threw your lunch in the trash every day while I watched. You told your guidance counselor I hit you. You smashed a glass and told your dad I did it. You've spent 2 years making sure I knew I wasn't wanted here, that I was an intruder, that I should leave. I'm just finally listening to you. I didn't mean— She stopped, swallowed hard. Her voice got quieter, smaller. I didn't think you'd actually leave. I didn't leave, I pointed out. I'm still here. I'm married to your dad. I still live in this house. I still pay bills and do the shopping and keep things running. I just stopped doing all the invisible labor that you hated me for anyway. I stopped organizing your life, stopped managing your schedule, stopped being your unpaid personal assistant and emotional support and academic tutor. I stopped being whatever you needed me to be while you treated me like I was nothing. I didn't hate you for helping, she said, tears starting to spill over. I hated that I needed your help. I hated that my dad was happy with you. I hated that you were good at being a parent. I finished softly. You hated that I was good at being a parent because it made you miss your mom. She started crying for real then, ugly sobs that shook her whole thin shoulders. My mom left because of me. She left because I wasn't enough, because I was too difficult, or too loud, or too something. And when Dad married you, I thought you'd leave too eventually. Everyone leaves. So I tried to make you leave first, before you could hurt me the way she did. Before you could just disappear one day while I was at school. I set my coffee down. I felt my resolve waver slightly. Just slightly. Victoria, your mom leaving was not your fault. Then why did she go? Victoria looked up at me, her face blotchy and desperate. Why did she just disappear? Dad won't talk about it. He just says she had her reasons, that it's complicated, that I'll understand when I'm older. What reasons are good enough to leave your kid? What reasons make that okay? I don't know, I admitted. I genuinely don't. Your dad doesn't talk to me about her either, but I do know that you've spent 2 years punishing me for her choice, for her failure as a mother, and I can't keep absorbing that punishment. I can't keep letting you hurt me because you're hurt. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry, for all of it. The lunches and the glass and lying about you hitting me and everything. I'm sorry. I wanted to believe her. Part of me did believe her. The soft part of me that had packed those lunches, that had stayed up late helping with homework, that had wanted so badly to be someone she could count on. But belief and trust are different things. Okay, I said simply. She looked up, hopeful. Okay, so you'll help me with my college stuff? And, no, I interrupted gently but firmly. Okay, I accept your apology. But that doesn't mean things go back to how they were. You're sorry now because you're facing consequences. Because your life is hard without me doing everything. That's not the same as being sorry because you understand what you did was wrong. That's not the same as actually changing. I do understand, she insisted desperately. I really do. I was awful. I was horrible to you. You didn't deserve any of it. I know that now. You're right, I agreed. I didn't deserve it. And now you get to live with what you destroyed. Maybe you'll rebuild it someday. Maybe you won't. But you don't get to say sorry once, cry some tears, and have me fix everything for you. That's not how healing works. That's not how trust works. Her face hardened, anger flashing through the tears. So you're just going to watch me fail? You're just going to stand there and watch my life fall apart? I'm going to watch you figure out how to not fail, I corrected. There's a big difference. You're 17, not 7. You're capable of using Google, of setting alarms, of managing your own responsibilities. You've just never had to, because I did it all for you without you even noticing. Now you have to do it yourself. She stood up, knocking her chair back. You know what? Fine. I don't need you. I never needed you. I was fine before you showed up, and I'll be fine after you're gone. Then nothing's changed, I said calmly, taking a sip of my coffee. Except now your dad knows how much work it takes to keep you afloat. She stormed out. Her dad was standing in the hallway in his bathrobe. He'd heard everything. Was that too harsh? He asked me quietly. No, I said. It was honest. She needs honest. She needs to know that saying sorry doesn't magically fix everything. That rebuilding trust takes time and consistent changed behavior. He nodded slowly. I'm starting to see that. I'm starting to see a lot of things I should have seen years ago. Over the next 3 weeks, something shifted. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, but it shifted. Victoria started setting her own alarms. Multiple alarms. Her phone would go off at 6 or 6:10, 6:20 a.m. until she finally got up. Started making her own lunches, though they were usually just whatever she could grab quickly. A granola bar and an apple. Sometimes just peanut butter on bread. Started asking her dad for help with college applications, and when he couldn't help, she figured it out herself through YouTube videos and Reddit forums and asking her guidance counselor at school. She didn't speak to me much. When she did, it was polite, distant, like we were roommates instead of family. Excuse me, can you pass the salt? Thanks for picking up more shampoo. The weather's nice today. Her grades didn't improve dramatically, but they stabilized. She managed to submit 2 more college applications before the final deadlines, staying up until 3 a.m. to finish them. Her light still on when I got up for water in the middle of the night. She found a classmate who could drive her to soccer practice, and she rejoined the team. She started doing her own laundry on Sundays, and I'd hear the washer and dryer going while she did homework. I watched all of this from my careful distance. I didn't praise her. I didn't criticize her. I just existed in the same house as her. Parallel lives that occasionally intersected at dinner or in the bathroom schedule, or when we reached for the same box of cereal. Her dad kept trying to push us together. Maybe you two could go shopping together this weekend. Maybe you could help her pick classes for next year. Maybe you could give her some advice about her college essay. Maybe. I kept saying no, kept maintaining my boundaries, kept protecting the space I'd finally carved out for myself. Then one night, 2 months after my birthday, Victoria knocked on my bedroom door around 9 p.m. Can I come in? It's your house, I said, not looking up from my book. She sat on the edge of my bed, not meeting my eyes, picking at her fingernails again. I got my acceptance letter today, from State University, full academic scholarship, room and board covered too. That's amazing, I said sincerely, setting down my book. Congratulations. That's really impressive. She nodded, still not looking at me. The essay question was about someone who influenced your life, someone who challenged you to grow, someone who changed how you see the world. She handed me her phone. On the screen was her essay, already submitted, already part of her accepted application. I read it slowly, carefully. She'd written about me, about how she'd spent 2 years fighting against someone who was trying to help her, someone who had shown up consistently despite being rejected at every turn. Someone who had reorganized her entire life to accommodate a teenager who repaid kindness with cruelty. About how she'd learned what real love looked like only after it was withdrawn, only after she'd experienced the absence of all those invisible acts of care she'd taken for granted. She wrote about packing her own lunches and realizing that someone had been doing that for her every single day, customizing each one to her preferences, spending extra money on specific brands, waking up early to prepare them. About missing deadlines, and understanding that someone had been keeping her organized, keeping track of dates and requirements and deadlines in their head. About sitting in detention and recognizing that someone had been protecting her from her own chaos and poor decisions. The essay ended with a paragraph that made my throat tight, that made me have to read it twice to fully understand what she was saying. She didn't give up on me because she stopped helping. She gave up on the version of me that refused to see her value, the version of me that took and took without giving anything back, the version of me that was so scared of being abandoned that I tried to control when it would happen. Now I'm trying to become someone worthy of her effort, not to get it back, because I know I can't and don't deserve to, but because I finally understand what it cost her to give it in the first place. Because I finally understand that love isn't just showing up. Love is also knowing when to step back and let someone fall so they can learn to catch themselves. She taught me that. She taught me that I was stronger than I thought I was, strong enough to survive without her, strong enough to do it on my own. And that's the greatest gift anyone's ever given me, even though it hurt. Especially because it hurt. I handed back the phone carefully. That's a really powerful essay, really honest and raw. Is it true? She asked quietly, finally looking at me. Did I really make you give up on me? I thought about it carefully, choosing my words with precision. You made me give up on trying to force a relationship that you didn't want. You made me give up on sacrificing myself to keep you comfortable. That's not the same as giving up on you as a person. I still want good things for you. I still hope you succeed. I still hope you find happiness. I just can't be the person who sacrifices herself to make that happen anymore. I can't be that version of myself anymore. She nodded, tears streaming down her face now, dripping onto her shirt. I understand. I do. And I'm not asking you to go back to how things were. I know that's impossible. I know I destroyed that. I wanted you to know that I finally see it. I see what I did. I see what you were trying to give me. And I see what I threw away like it was garbage. I reached over and squeezed her hand once. Quick, brief. The first time I'd voluntarily touched her in 2 months. Then let go. Thank you for telling me, I said. I mean that. Thank you for doing the work to understand. She left after a few more minutes of quiet. I sat in the silence of my room for a long time after, staring at the wall, feeling things I didn't have names for. 3 months later, Victoria graduated high school. I went to the ceremony, sat next to her dad in the auditorium, clapped when she walked across the stage in her cap and gown. She'd gotten honors despite everything, despite the failed classes and the chaos. She'd pulled herself together in the last semester, had gotten mostly A's and B's. At the party afterward at our house, her friends came up to me. We've heard a lot about you from Victoria. She says you're the toughest person she knows. She says you taught her more than anyone else in her life. She says you're the reason she's going to be okay. I didn't know how to respond to that. I just smiled and thanked them and went to check on the food. That summer, Victoria worked 2 jobs. A morning shift at a coffee shop, an evening shift at a retail store. She was saving money for college, for things the scholarship didn't cover, for independence. She bought her own clothes, her own supplies, her own textbooks. She asked her dad for help moving into her dorm, not me. The night before she left in August, she knocked on my door again around 11 p.m. I'm leaving tomorrow morning, early, around 8 a.m. I know, I said. I'd seen her packing, heard her making lists, watched her organize boxes in the hallway. I just wanted to say, she took a deep breath, thank you, for everything you did do when you were doing it. I know I never said it then. I know I threw it all away, but I see it now. And thank you for stopping when I made it impossible for you to keep going. I needed that. I needed to learn how to stand on my own, how to be responsible for myself. I never would have learned that if you'd kept saving me. You're welcome, I said simply. She hesitated, shifting from foot to foot. Do you think, someday, we could try again? Not like before. Different. Better. More equal. I don't know, I said honestly. Maybe. If you show me that you've really changed, not through words but through actions. Through years of actions, not weeks or months. Through consistent changed behavior over time. She nodded, accepting that. Fair enough. That's completely fair. I don't deserve anything else. It's not about deserving, I said. It's about trust. And trust takes time to build, especially when it's been broken as thoroughly as ours was. She left the next morning. Her dad cried as he loaded her car, hugged her for a long time in the driveway. I watched from the kitchen window. She looked back at the house once before she drove away, and I thought maybe she was looking for me, but I couldn't be sure. A year later, she called me. Not her dad, though she'd called him regularly. Me. It was a Wednesday evening around 7 p.m. Hey, she said, sounding nervous. I know we don't really talk much, but I got my grades for fall semester, and I thought you might want to know. I got all A's, made the dean's list. That's incredible, I said, genuinely proud. I'm really proud of you. That's not easy. There was a pause. I'm trying, she said quietly. I'm really trying to be better. Not just with school, but with everything. I'm in therapy, working through the whole abandonment thing. and the anger, and learning how to have healthy relationships where I don't push people away before they can leave me. That's good, I said. That's really good work. That takes courage. Another pause. Can I call you sometimes? Just to update you on stuff? I don't need anything. I'm not asking for help or money or anything. I'd like to stay in touch, if that's okay. I thought about it for a moment. Yes, I said finally. You can call me. I'd like that. We talk now, occasionally. Every few weeks. Sometimes more often, sometimes less. She tells me about her classes, her roommate drama, her new boyfriend who sounds kind and stable, about the club she joined and the volunteer work she's doing at a local elementary school. I tell her about work, about her dad, about small things that don't matter much but somehow matter in the telling. It's not a mother-daughter relationship. It's not even really a friendship yet. It's something new, something we're building carefully from scratch, without resentment, without obligation, without the weight of those 2 terrible years crushing everything, just 2 people who share history and are trying to figure out what comes next. Her dad asked me recently on a Sunday morning over coffee if I'd forgiven her, if we were okay now. I don't think forgiveness is the right word, I said, considering it carefully. Forgiveness implies she owes me something that I'm choosing to release, but what she owes me is to be better, to grow up, to learn from what happened. And she's doing that. So maybe it's not forgiveness. Maybe it's just peace. Maybe it's just both of us finally being okay in our own lives. He pulled me close, kissed the top of my head. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. How much you were doing, how much she was hurting you, how much I was enabling her by not stepping up myself. I know, I said, but you see it now. That's what matters. That's what makes it possible for us to move forward. Last month, Victoria came home for Thanksgiving, the first time she'd been back since leaving for college 15 months ago. I was anxious all week before she arrived, cleaning things that didn't need cleaning, reorganizing things that were already organized, not sleeping well. She walked in Wednesday afternoon with a backpack and a box wrapped in brown paper. Handed the box to me without ceremony, right there in the entryway with her dad still unloading her car outside. I made these for you, she said, in my ceramics class this semester. They're not perfect. I'm still learning. But, yeah, they're for you. Inside were 2 handmade mugs. Uneven, clearly beginner work, the glaze a little thick in places, a little thin in others, but carefully made, glazed in blue and green, swirling together. My favorite colors. She'd remembered. Thank you, I said, running my finger along the rim of one, feeling the slight imperfections. I'll use these. These will be my everyday mugs. She smiled, small and uncertain. Good. That's good. I was worried they were too ugly. They're perfect, I said. Perfectly imperfect. That weekend, she helped cook Thanksgiving dinner without being asked. She peeled potatoes and chopped vegetables and set the table. She cleared dishes without prompting. She asked me questions about my life, actually listening to the answers, asking follow-up questions, remembering details I'd mentioned. She laughed at her dad's terrible jokes, the ones she used to roll her eyes at. She was present in a way she'd never been before. On her last night home Sunday evening, we sat together on the back porch after her dad went to bed early. The November air was cold, but not unbearable. We had blankets and the outdoor heater running. I was really terrible to you, she said to the darkness, to the stars, not looking at me. Yes, I agreed. You were. I don't blame you for stopping, for protecting yourself. You should have done it sooner, honestly. Maybe, I said, but I wasn't ready sooner. I had to try everything else first. She was quiet for a while, just the sound of cars passing on the street, a dog barking in the distance. Then, I read somewhere that people who are drowning sometimes try to drown their rescuers. They don't mean to. They're not trying to be cruel. They just panic. They grab onto anything, anyone, and sometimes they pull that person down with them into the water. That's true, I said. I've heard that too. I was drowning, she said softly, her voice catching. When my mom left, I went under and I never really came back up. I was underwater for years, just flailing around, trying to breathe. And when you showed up, trying to help, I grabbed you and tried to pull you down too. Not because I wanted to hurt you, but because that's what drowning people do. That's what people who are terrified and in pain do. And when I let go, I asked gently. When you let go, she continued, I had to make a choice. Learn how to swim on my own, or drown completely. And I chose to swim. I chose to save myself. And that's what I needed all along. Not someone to keep rescuing me. Someone to let me learn how to rescue myself. I looked at her in the porch light, the soft yellow glow. She looked older than 18, older than 19, looked like someone who'd done the hard work of growing up too fast, but was maybe, possibly, coming out okay on the other side. I'm glad you chose to swim, I said. I'm really glad. Me too, she said. Me too. We sat there together in the quiet cold for almost an hour. Not quite healed, not quite whole, but no longer actively wounding each other. No longer at war. And maybe that was enough. Maybe that was actually more than enough. Maybe that was everything.